you got quite the Hormozi media empire going on here. Bring us back to kind of your epiphany when you realize like, damn, we got to start building more of an audience here, move off of sort of the paid ad side and build this business different.
I mean, I had reality kind of slap me in the face a bunch of times in a row in a very short period. So like I was, just for the audience to like understand the gravity of this 180 degree flip for me is that like, I think episode 7 of my podcast is called Stop Branding.
Yes.
And I do, I mean, I leave it up there because I want people to see the, the progression over time.
I respect that too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And so I was just like, cold outreach, run ads, don't talk to me. You know, like it's just like, that's what it is. Like that's how you're going to get customers. And obviously referrals and affiliates and things like that. The idea of just organic content didn't really make sense to me. And to be fair, I was also a local business owner and was speaking to local business owners. And I think that there's actually some truth to that. Because the thing is like, if you actually build an exceptionally large, personal brand, it doesn't make sense to monetize through a local business. And so what does make sense for a local business? Well, they probably should have strong referrals from their existing customers, create affiliate relationships with other local businesses. They should run ads, they should do outreach. Like that is probably
local SEO. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the approach they should be making. But I saw Kylie Jenner become a billionaire when she was 20 and I was 27 and I thought I was, hot shit. And I was like, she is way richer than I am. And so it means that she's doing something different than I am by an order of magnitude that I don't understand. And she had a personal brand. But I was like, you know what? Kris Jenner's been building her brand since she was 5. Like, okay, I'll write that off as a fluke. But then, Huda Beauty, sold a chunk of her thing at 600. Now I think it's worth over $1 billion. And, Conor McGregor had Proper 12 and George Clooney had Casamigos,
yep.
Right? And then The Rock has Terramana. And each of those multi-billion dollar things, like seemingly overnight, now you've got Logan Paul with Prime. And so, but in that short period, it was like 12 months, all of these plays started coming out. And I was like, I'm playing this wrong. And so I still wasn't convinced because I didn't want to be famous. And I have another clip of me being like, I never want anybody to know who I am from a few years ago. And I was sat across the table from a friend of mine who's famous. You would recognize him. And I said, like, don't you get bothered by having like weirdos show up at your house like 3 times a week and like letters to your kids? And like, isn't that like, that doesn't seem worth it to me. And he said, if that's the price I have to pay for the impact I want to have, I'd pay that price twice a day and 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of looked at me and I just felt very called out, just like for being a pansy. And so I was like, all right, well, that's what I'll do. And so that was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. And I started making content that week.
Yeah, I see that self-limiting belief a lot with people where, they're like, oh, personal brand, I don't want to be famous.
Yeah.
And I think we live in a totally different day and age now. And there's a whole other kind of game being played. I'm curious on your side with, your personal brand. There's a lot of people out there that just can't see the ROI to this.
Yeah.
They're like, why am I doing this? Like, I lose all my privacy. I lose all this. And like, what for?
Yeah.
How do you look at the ROI of what you've built?
Yeah.
And, I think you guys are spending like millions of dollars now on the whole content operation. We'll love a little bit of the, inside baseball and how that kind of all delivers results for you.
So, right off the bat, I will say up front, I don't think everyone should be famous. I don't think everyone should build a personal brand. I don't think everyone should anything. You can do whatever you want. And I have billionaire friends who want to stay anonymous and they're pretty smart dudes, and so they've made that decision and I respect that. I do think that from a money-making perspective, it is a time warp. You can just go way faster. Mm-hmm. And that is because you can attract talent at such a higher rate than you could otherwise. You can bring people on who already know your values, know what you're about, have already consumed more content than most people's employees currently know about them and their way of doing business. You can basically pre-train your entire team before they come on board because of the amount of stuff that you put out. And those are just unbelievably valuable things. Not to mention, if you're on the deal side, like for us, like investing in companies, we have so much more trust at the table. And I think Charlie Munger said trust is the ultimate lubricant for deals. Is like you're both trying to make the deal happen rather than being competitive, and I think that just it's so much better as a process. Having been in both types of deals, very competitive deals like white knuckle deals and really friendly deals, way more fun to do friendly deals. And so those are kind of the pluses. And obviously you have an audience, so you can test things quickly. You can find solutions. Like I remember even this week I had one of our companies does $3 or $4 million a month in just loan volume. as a percentage of their revenue for consumer spending. And we were switching processors, and we were kind of linked to a different loan engine, and I wanted to make sure that we'd be able to transfer it to the new processor. And so I needed to get in contact with somebody high up at that loan processing company. And I was like, hey, if anybody knows anyone, let me know. And I got like 7 people who messaged me, and they were like, I know the co-founder, let me introduce you. And like, just, you don't have that without that kind of brand. So that's the pros.
Yeah.
The cons, and there are cons, is that privacy is the cost of fame. Like, that's what you give up. And for some people, that cost is always too much. For me, I'm not really that different in private than I am publicly. So it didn't seem like too big of a deal. I mean, I still thought about it. Second is, it's irreversible. You, like, once everyone knows what you look like, that's it. Like, you can't stop. Like, like, it's irreversible. And that's why—
You shave the beard.
Yeah, right. I think I'd still probably get recognized. There's like small social costs. Like, you know, if I walk outside of the house, I'll get recognized 4 or 5 times every time I walk outside. And that's fine. Or if I go to dinner with Layla, I'll probably have to stop 3 or 4 times during the dinner to take pictures. And that can be, disrupting. And the hard part is that you always have to be in the best mood ever, because this is the one time that this person will ever see you. And they will make 100% of their lifelong judgment and tell every person they ever meet how you are based on the 30 seconds of how you interact with them. And then 10 minutes later, you do it again. And so basically being able to manage that is a skill, I think. Mm-hmm. And I've worked really hard at that. Just because it doesn't matter, like, no one will ever empathize. So it doesn't really matter. They're like, boohoo, must be tough. You did choose that. And that's the thing, is like, I did choose this. And so I can't lament that. I just see that as part of the price. And so giving up privacy is the TLDR big umbrella cost of getting the fame wheel going. But there are, in my opinion, pros and cons, but there are more pros than there are cons.
Yeah.
I also don't talk about super racy subjects. And so I don't have, at least to my knowledge, a huge hater base. I'm not political. For the most part, all my stuff that's out there is like to try and help people, make more. And I also lean really far away from shoulds. So I just, up front, like, do whatever you want. Like, this is just the stuff that worked for me. And if it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, try someone else. You know what I mean? That's just, that's what's worked.